Ilhan Omar asked the public to do a little digging on her finances, and it immediately backfired.
She wrote, "My salary is $174,000 before taxes. I don't have stock or own a home, and I'm still paying off my student debt. So if you're going to lie on something that is public, maybe try checking my financial statements, and you will see I barely have thousands, let alone millions." Well, people have checked the public records now. Omar apparently has a net worth upwards of $30 million. And get this, it's because of companies run and owned by her husband, who in 2023 had a net worth of $51,000. In 1 year, that $51,000 grew from $6 to $30 million. What a good communist.
Here's what really bothers me. People like me and you hear about these obnoxious criminal stunts all the time. But nothing ever comes of them. There's the House ethics investigations, there's congressional oversight hearings, subpoenas are issued. Some people actually even show up, usually just to plead the fifth. So nothing ever happens. I mean, we could start by looking at Hillary's email scandals, where she was ordered by subpoena to protect and preserve those emails, and she complied by triple bleaching the servers that housed the emails and then taking a hammer to them. What were the consequences? Nothing. It's over. Then there were Joe and Hunter Biden's treasonous schemes, one of many, with our adversaries, including China and Russia. The Bidens had multiple offshore LLC accounts which, according to Oversight Chairman James Comer, originated from China and ended up at the then Vice President Joe Biden's feet. Oh, the noose was tightening. We had bank records. We even had credible witnesses, including Hunter Biden's business partner, testifying to all of this. What were the consequences? Nothing. It's over. The list is almost endless. But here's the latest scheme that enriched our elected politicians at our expense. And as obvious and blatant as this is, what will be the consequences? Well, unless we keep the lights on these treasonous acts, there'll be no consequences again. So come on in to O'Reilly's Corner, where we do just that. Keep the lights on these traitors. When Omar was first elected to Congress in 2018, her financial disclosure indicated a negative net worth. Her liabilities exceeded her assets. Her latest disclosure, however, filed in 2025, showed a net worth of about $30 million, stemming from her husband's business ventures, which they themselves were worth close to zero the year before. So this shocking, some might say unbelievable, sudden wealth accumulation comes in the midst of a behemoth welfare fraud scheme in Minneapolis involving fake child care centers. I just did a whole separate video on Minneapolis fraud. Believe me, these two are connected. The Minneapolis fraud and Omar's meteoric wealth accumulation.
A sudden fortune, a sprawling fraud scandal, and a congresswoman under scrutiny. Watchdogs are probing Ilhan Omar's finances after disclosures show a dramatic wealth surge tied to her husband's businesses. Just as Minnesota reels from one of America's largest COVID aid fraud cases. Is this coincidence, or something deeper waiting to surface? A conservative watchdog group is now scrutinizing the finances of Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar as questions mount over her sudden surge in personal wealth and a massive fraud scandal unfolding in her home state of Minnesota. According to the New York Post, Peter Flaherty, chairman of the National Legal and Policy Center, confirmed that his organization is certainly looking into Omar's financial disclosures. The inquiry comes amid broader outrage over Minnesota's Feeding Our Future scandal, in which hundreds of millions of dollars in pandemic aid were allegedly stolen. Financial disclosures cited by the New York Post show Omar's net worth jumping to as much as $30 million within roughly a year, a dramatic increase from 2023 levels.
Omar's husband, Tim Manette's political consultant firm, the E Street Group, was already doing work for Omar's campaign before they got married. In fact, federal records show Omar's campaign paid Manette over $600,000 in 2019 alone. $600,000. Well, then when they got married the next year, the payments, they didn't stop. They accelerated, funneling nearly $3 million of campaign funds to her husband's firm, essentially to herself. How in the hell do you justify funneling $3 million of campaign funds to your husband's account? $3 million. It's not a consultant fee. That's a wealth transfer. It's theft. That's using your position in Congress as a personal ATM machine. Now, federal election law allows campaigns to hire spouses for consultant work. But here's the catch. It has to be at fair market value. So my question is, what exactly is fair market value for a congressional campaign in Minnesota's 5th District? Well, I looked at comparable districts, comparable races, comparable campaigns. I was seeing payments to consultant firms in the range of $200,000, $300,000, none of them, by the way, to their spouse. But Omar's payments to E Street Group, a.k.a. hubby, nearly $3 million. That's 10 times the normal rate. What specifically did her husband do that was worth $3 million? I mean, this is quite the business model. The more money Omar raises from donors, the more money flows into her husband's pocket. It's a perfect closed-loop system. Donors think they're funding progressive movement, but actually, where's that money going? It's going into the personal bank account of the Congresswoman's household. Congresswoman Omar has built her brand on being anti-establishment, anti-corruption, a voice for the people against the powerful. She rallied against corporate greed, against politicians who enriched themselves, against the revolving door between government and private interest. She's a socialist. She believes in equality for all. She's a progressive. She's a Muslim. In my opinion, she's full of shit. Her actions contradict all of these platforms.
This is what Ilhan Omar said, defending the program that she introduced in the House that led to all of these billions being stolen.
Yeah, it's a quote. She's telling Fox Digital. So this is the 2020 Meals Act. Ilhan Omar drops legislation intended to feed poor children during COVID because they might not have access, and it opened up a 100% USDA waiver that was exploited grotesquely. Fox News asked her, do you regret pushing for that bill, the Meals Act? Do you think it led to the fraud? Ilhan Omar, absolutely not. It did help feed kids. Okay, you see those, how it started, how it ended. Let's do how this started, what the funds were meant for feeding children, for helping recovering addicts find a place to live, helping disabled adults live independently, one-on-one therapy for autistic children.
That was the promise.
That was the idea. Now, here's where the funds allegedly went. You see that on the right side of the screen. Wire transfers to China and East Africa, a villa in the Maldives, first-class plane tickets, luxury vehicles, lakefront property in Minnesota, designer jewelry, and crypto. And that's just among the things.
This is money given to her by working-class supporters, folks that I don't normally agree with, but who got involved. They stepped up. They got involved, and they believe that they were supporting progressive message. And she's literally taken those campaign donations to enrich herself to the tune of millions of dollars. But here's where the story goes from disgusting to absolutely absurd. Let's talk about Rose Lake Capital LLC. Now, I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because this is where the math just stops working. So this venture capital firm, Rose Lake Capital, owned by Ilhan Omar's husband, Tim Minette, was only established in 2022, venture capital firm. The firm's value, astonishingly, rose from nearly zero in 2023 to up to $25 million within a year. From zero to $25 million within a year. This guy outperformed even the most gifted traders like Paul Pelosi and Hillary Clinton. Tim Minette, a guy who spent his entire career making political campaign ads, suddenly decides he's a venture capitalist. Someone with zero financial background, no experience whatsoever in finance, never mind private equity, no track record in investment banking, no MBA from a top business school. But he doesn't need any of that. He's married to Omar, Congresswoman Omar. This man is now running a venture capital firm that allegedly made tens of millions of dollars in 1 year. The firm's website recently underwent a total revamp, quietly removing the names and bios of all of its officers and advisors. And furthermore, there's absolutely no evidence that they even have any real clients. And by the way, Tim and Ed had other business ventures as well, and they all ended up in court. They all faced fraud allegations and lawsuits. In my opinion, Omar is married to a con man, and she has an agenda.
Is Democratic Congresswoman from Minnesota, Ilhan Omar, and her husband, they are in the spotlight as Republicans on the House Oversight Committee launch an investigation into the couple's finances. Why? We go to Nate Foy. He has more. Hi, Nate.
Hey, Dana, good morning. Yeah, a lot of digging required on this one because in just 1 year, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar's net worth went up nearly $30 million. The question is how. Here's what we know. Omar's husband, a former political consultant, owns a venture capital firm based in Washington, D.C. and a winery in California. Take a look at these numbers. In 2023, Omar disclosed a maximum of $50,000 in assets at the winery. The next year, Dana, that number increased to $5 million. Meanwhile, her husband's company, Rose Lake Capital, reported a maximum of $1,000 in assets in 2023. The next year, it was $25 million. Despite that, Omar denied being a millionaire earlier this year, posting on X, quote, "I barely have thousands, let alone millions." House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer tells Fox News an investigation is underway, writing, quote, "The committee is working on addressing ethics concerns regarding Representative Omar and her spouse, and we hope to have an update soon." Elon Musk says Omar committed fraud, while President Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, "She should be in jail or even a worse punishment, sent back to Somalia."
How does that work exactly? How does someone with absolutely no financial expertise suddenly start making millions of dollars in one of the most competitive, complex, specialized fields in business? Venture capital isn't something you just wake up and be one day or decide to do one day. It requires a deep network, track records, proven returns, investor confidence. The average venture capital firm takes years to establish credibility. Yet somehow old Tim, whose only claim to fame was being a political ads consultant, is now playing in the big leagues. So I wonder, did Rose Lake Capital's investors believe in Tim Minette's non-existent financial resume? Or were they invested in access to Congresswoman Omar? Were they betting on returns, or were they hoping for influence? Hey, look, it's known as political premium. When people without qualifications suddenly become successful, not because of skills that they possess, but because of who they're connected to. Hunter Biden sitting on the board of Ukrainian energy company comes to mind. That guy couldn't point to the Ukraine on a map in a sober moment. And the American people, you and me, deserve to know all about Rose Lake Capital and its sleazy dealings. Venture capital firm that's nothing more than a pay-to-play access scheme disguised as business. This isn't confusing. It's nothing more than systematic conversion of political access into personal wealth, and we can't just let it fade away. Let's keep the lights on. Hey, thanks for stopping by O'Reilly's Corner, where we do just that, keep the lights on these treasonous acts. I hope you enjoyed being here as much as I enjoyed having you. If so, please, on your way out the door, smash that like and subscribe button. And I'll see you next time. I'm Mike O'Reilly.